Yes, guys, Suki from BTS TV, and today, look, this guy has been on all the media pages over the last week. He is officially the youngest ever natural IFBB pro. It's in his bio. It is Farid, the newest IFBB pro at the age of 20 years old. 20, right? He is
20.
20?
Yeah,
He is
I
20,
turned
yeah,
I
it was his
turned
bio as
20 a week
well.
before.
Fareed, look, first off, thank you for coming on. And again, well, again, because I am messaging you already, congratulations. What an outstanding showing.
Thank you very much, Suki. I mean, it's something I didn't really like kind of think about having like a title of youngest natural IFBB pro until like probably the last few weeks when I kind of realized that uh, I already knew that already knew that there was like other younger IFBB pros, and that would be Anton Ratushny, who actually
Yeah.
a couple years ago I saw him when I was getting into bodybuilding. I was like, whoa, he's only 19 and he's already a pro. He was pretty inspiring for me. So I already knew that he had that record. I might have been able to match it. I turned 20 literally a week before the show. But then I realized that like it'd still be have that youngest natural IFBB title. Um, that was very cool to have. I'm glad to have it.
Well, one thing I've got, look, I'm going to go jump into this question because I gotta ask. You look, not only when you compete at such a young age and also you get a lot of eyes on you, the pressure can sometimes build. You know, even I kind of threw in the caption, I feel pro prospect for Fareed and so does other channels. They're all looking at you. But of course, you got added pressure because your father is very well known within the Bible industry, and therefore maybe that does add a little bit more pressure. Did you feel that at all during your prep, or were you able to put the blinders on and focus on just yourself and the task at hand?
Well, I definitely feel the pressure, and it's kind of a different sort of attention. I feel it'd be less stressful to have like 100,000 followers, but like I'm not my dad's son and I'm just kind of doing my own thing versus having like the 9,000 followers I have. But in those, there's like so many like big eyes looking at you, and it's kind of like it's kind of more of like an expectation um, attention rather than just kind of like the number of eyes on you. So it's just a different type of attention that I think is a little more uh, stressful. And sometimes I really feel it at times, but it doesn't get in the way at all. Um, this summer I had moved to an apartment in Vermont because I go to school in Vermont. Our Most of the leases there start in the early summer, even though the semester starts in the fall. So I figured, why not go there? Have my I have one roommate, but essentially my own place to kind of focus in, which really helped a lot. If I'm being honest, I don't think it would have gone as well if I was still here living with my family and prepping. So I moved there, and yeah, I kind of like got really focused in on it. I didn't do really much of anything outside of getting ready for the shows and um, whatnot. So I kind of took a hit on the social aspect, which sometimes got pretty hard. But you know, now we did everything we wanted to do, so that time comes now. But yeah, I really focused in on it. I don't think I like show day. I didn't really have any pressure to make sure I won. I was telling a lot of people that, like on the day of the show, that I was just kind of really having fun with it, especially up on the stage. So I would still have liked a good placing, but you know, if I didn't win, then you know, so what?
Look,
Um,
I want to just something said because you mentioned that it was like a different type of pressure maybe you felt. Um, a lot of people who will watch this will go through their own type of pressures for different aspects. How did you then deal with maybe some of that social media attention or pressure to make sure that it didn't take you off track? We see with other people sometimes that it can get in their heads when they see negative comments. Obviously, you came out of it better because you got the pro card. So how did you deal with maybe any sort of negativity that ever crept in through social media or any pressure that felt maybe it was a bit too much?
Well, I just kind of didn't really like dive into social media a whole ton. I was obviously trying to post more, like because I was getting so close to the show, and it was still very great engagement and exposure. But I didn't like fully delve myself in it. At some point, I stopped like looking at comments or whatnot because I already figured like there's going to be negative ones that say like, oh, he's only getting the attention because I'm my father's son, which is like in a large part true. But then there's also people that will like see it as unfair. But honestly, there had to have been like what are you going to be upset for that? My dad had a son and his son got into bodybuilding. I mean, if you look at like Cristiano Ronaldo's son or
Yeah.
LeBron's son, they're going to have exposure in the sport that their father is very big in. So some people, I've seen some people uh, be negative about the amount of exposure I'm getting because of that, or the amount of opportunities I've got because of that. Because I've met a ton of people that people would love to meet, um, and that was like kind of like right off the bat. But I kind of just at some point just started to ignore those types of things because there was a lot of like repeat negativity. And then yeah,
Sorry,
go.
go say.
I was gonna say I say the most negativity came from the the Brazilian bodybuilding pages, not the pages themselves, of course,
Yeah.
but the comments I gotta say were probably like 50-50 positive negative, which I think is a huge like margin of negativity. Um, and it would, my dad's coaching Ramone's coached Eduardo and other Brazilians down there. So they like to they're really engrossed in the topic. And I've seen a lot of like people saying, they're only posting because uh, my dad's my dad, and there's a lot better down in Brazil, which I think is probably true. That I've seen a couple guys, natural guys that I think are a lot better than me. But I got the pro card, and some people were saying that they were better down here. I I think I responded to a couple that you have every right to come up to America or Canada to get the pro card. Um, the I guess at some point, and I guess everyone goes through it. You start ignoring the comments.
Brazilian fans, man, that's normal. We've seen him on all on anybody when they jump on. It's always been mixed. I mean, we had just now Darwin who competed against Menegate over at Tampa. He won, and literally on like all the posts, it was like Brazil fans saying, "Nah, nah, nah, this is robbery." Yeah, all this that's standard. They're a passionate bunch. They're a passionate bunch.
They
They
are
like to
bad.
support their own. It's just like football, like soccer over there as well. But look, I want to look ahead as well because God, I mean, look, you're the youngest natural IFBB pro. The IFBB, the NPC has put a lot of focus now on the natural scene. We saw the Ben Weider last year offering the pro winners the ticket to compete at the Olympia. This
Yeah.
year now you have to qualify to compete at the Ben Weider, which is obviously great. They really are investing into the natural scene, and that's a great avenue now for natural competitors who want to progress through the NPC and IVB. What's next? What's the plan for you? You're 20 years old. I did see a post that there's some room for growth.
Yeah,
What's next?
I mean, I'm taking time off, time off just to take time off, and um, I mean, obviously, I'm going to be getting back in the gym regularly, but also time off as an extended off season. Because I did the Ben Weider show last year, um, which is mid-November, and then we started prep in mid-March. So there was a good like 3.5 month off season. Then we obviously, I think we grew a lot going into this show during prep, but just having that short off season and making the big jump from what I showed at the Ben Weider. There's pictures online, but it just looks like a completely different physique from Ben Weider to T Nationals and the Toronto show. So I'm definitely going to take an extended off season. Rudy, the promoter of the Canada show, has already been asking me to come back and do the pro show division of the Toronto show. So that might be in the plan for next year.
When will that be? When will that be again? That'll
It'll,
be
yeah, it'll be early August again.
so
I
if you
think.
were to make your pro debut, you'll probably look at, same time next year, August period.
Yeah, and then
So
that could lead into me doing the Ben Weider for next year as well.
So how far do you think you can go in the natural IFBB pro ranks? Because I saw like on the UK side, they love your physique. They love the shape
Oh,
that
really?
you brought. So you got fans over here. They pay attention. They pay attention. They comment on the pose and also other ones. So um you're not just appreciated where you're over your side, you're also over in Europe. So, how far do you think your potential could take you in the IFBB now you are the youngest ever natural IFBB pro?
You're talking about the natural IFBB or
I'm
IFBB
talking
in
about
general?
natural, I'm talking about natural IFBB, yes.
Well, I think I can go the full way in the open IFBB. So I think I can go fully to the top in natural IFBB as well. I mean, I've been focusing on bodybuilding, I guess since like right after my senior year of football in high school. So under 3 years, and I've gotten this far already. And I think that just after each show and after each year, I just know more how to train. I'm more uh, I know more of how I should be eating. So I think each time there's more room for progression than there was like the half year before, say, or whatever. So I think from now until the next show, there'll probably be an even bigger jump than this last Ben Weider to the Toronto show. So I think I can go all the way in it very quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if I did the Ben Weider next year, I'd be fighting for that number one spot. And I think eventually that extends into the IFBB in general, whether I start out with classic or eventually go to the open. I think I can go the full way. I mean, I've got my dad, I've got I've got good genetics. I don't know if they're great yet. I think they're very good. They could be great. Um, and I mean, there's been people that have gone all the way with much less. So with with what I have at my disposal, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be able to go to the very top if I commit myself.
When you talk about, you believe that you can really fight for the title in the IFBB natural pro ranks, the Ben Weider is the pinnacle. Because as we know, the winner of that gets the qualification to the Olympia, which is
Yeah.
a fantastic added incentive. But you just said as well there that you talk about the IFBB as in the untested IFBB, go away from the natural seed. Is that something that's playing on your mind in the future?
Yeah. Um, when I decided to do bodybuilding, was at the 22 Olympia when my dad took me out, and I had been interested in American football going into college. I was interested in doing it in college. I wasn't very interested at all in the actual sport itself. Um, and then I think it was the Friday finals, like when they had all the classic physique guys on, is when like I really sat there and thought like, oh, this is something I think I could do because in football, in American football or in any other team sport, you kind of, especially American football, actually, you kind of have a coach telling you how to like run the ball or what plays to do or how you should be playing yourself. And in my experience, I knew what I could do in football. I wasn't getting the opportunity to show that, and I looked at bodybuilding. It was something that you kind of you mostly do on your own until you have like the coach for prep and whatnot. But even then, you're mostly doing things the way you want to do it, unless you have a training partner or a training coach. So I looked at that. I thought this is something I could do very well at. I've been very strong and had a lot more muscle than other kids at my age at the time. So I figured I could go into it, and I didn't even know about the natural um,
You think,
events at the yeah. I mean, I got to the 22 Olympia, and honestly, like, didn't really know that gear was like a huge thing in the sport.
yeah.
So
So, so, I mean, that's great that you in your head, you got a plan. You're a long-term plan. You're not thinking short term. You think of the bigger picture.
yeah,
So if everything did go to plan, you go to Toronto, you win that, and you go to Ben Weider, and you do what you want, what you need to do. When do you foresee maybe making a transition where you would potentially leave the IFBB natural scene?
I always thought, and my dad thinks this too. Whenever like you see like the progress slow, because my dad put it once that I'm making progress like I'm on gear, so there's no rush to start using. There was actually this one time last year, uh, he had some like yellow pills. I forgot what they were, um, but he called me down to his office. I think Guy Assistant, had given him and put him up to the task, and he offered them to me and said they're Winstrol. And I was like, oh, why are you offering me that? I thought our plan was to stay natural for quite a while. I'd at least like to do a few shows without it first. And then I was also confused because I was expecting him to say Winstrol and see like a needle, not some pills. Because I didn't know how stuff like that worked. But I think we're gonna stay the course until we see that progress really slow down or see a need for if yeah, and until that progress really slows, I think this will be staying natural until that time comes. But if we do win the Ben Weider next year and get that Olympia qualification, I think it'd be very cool to go to the Olympia. I'd probably take off completely from that Ben Weider show to the Olympia because I'd have to put on as much size as I can. Not really any chance of getting into that top 16 or whatever, but I'd at least like to make a worthwhile appearance there. So I would take that time off after the Ben Weider to do so, and that would be 2027.
Yeah,
I think,
2027.
yeah. So
So
I think that'd be a very cool course of action.
do you follow there's a French natural bodybuilder who's transitioned into the untested Samuel Hartman. Have you come across
I
him?
believe.
He's got like about 150,000 followers, like golden era
Yeah,
bodybuilding.
yes, I do know him.
He's
I saw one of his reels one day after he transitioned, and I was thinking like, oh my God, this guy did something crazy in the off season. I realized that he transitioned, but he looks phenomenal.
And that's what I was linking to because he said exactly what you were saying, that he wanted to kind of maximize his natural potential. And then when the time was right to then make that move, knowing that his body probably would respond in a great way, which clearly oh God, I don't know, maybe it's 8 or 9 months since the last natural show, which he won the world title in a different federation. He's now also transitioning.
WMF, right?
That's right, yes. Doing that transition, and you could see the change in his physique straight away. But he made that decision on like, I'm going to first maximize my potential as a natural athlete. At the same time, achieve a title that I want to achieve. He achieved that world title, like just like what you want to do. You want to achieve that title at the Ben Weider Pro. If you achieved it, then it only makes sense given the fact that you got a Olympia qualification. So yeah, I think that you clearly got a smart head on you, and obviously your father behind you as well to have this plan and like look, let's not rush it. Let's go achieve what we need to achieve, and when the time is right, that's when we'll make that move.
Yes, exactly. And also, I just want to like, I feel like at the point where I would start that means like full on commitment. So that might be something. I'm in school right now, so that might be something I'd like to do like after I get out, which would be 2027. Um, kind of maybe for that if I won that Ben Weider and went to the Olympia, maybe that first time around I'd still stay natural because I got the natural qualification for it. But after then, who knows? But I'd be out of school and have that kind of freedom to make this a full time thing. But at the moment, I'd also like to just kind of find a balance between this and school because for the past 2 years of school, there's been a lot of bodybuilding and prepping in the dorms, which has been pretty hard at times, not just like getting the meals in, but like just for your mental capacity because you get close to a show and dorms are dark, you're trying to focus on school. I've gotten exams back after I got an exam back after the Ben Weider show that I did before I left for it, and I got things wrong in it that I was looking at, and I was like, "This how in any world could I have gotten that wrong? That is such an easy question." So
What course do you do? Sorry.
I'm doing business marketing.
Is marketing. Nice.
Um, so it does really affect your brain once you start really pulling down in those final few weeks in
Well,
school.
I mean, you show that you can juggle it. Look, before we kind of wrap up, I really want to ask you this question as well. Like, with your father being Chris Aceto, what has been the number one advice that he's given you that really kind of sticks to you on a day by day basis?
And so you give me a lot of advice, but if I had to pick one message that he gives, I mean, it's rather basic, but it's honestly like do the work. Um, so sometimes I call him up and um, like not feeling great and whatnot, and we'll find a solution. But he's always very encouraging that um, you know like success in this field is only going to come from yourself, and if you quit now, then or not. I never thought about quitting, but if you pull back, if you pull back now, then you're kind of giving up on yourself and what you your potential and what you could have done in a good way. Some that might sound a bit bit harsh if like you're not feeling well, but it's something that really kept me going through.
What was the his first few words when you came off stage with that IFBB Pro card?
Well, I forget the first few words, but they usher you off to go do the urine test, and
Yeah.
it's kind of in a the actual venue is nice, but you know how you go into like the back hallways and it's kind of like dingy and like unfinished. So it was back there. There were three people back there for the urine test. I was getting ready to do it, and he came back there. And I forget what the first words are, but we ended up hugging and crying in front of the urine testers. Um, I think his first words were "I'm very proud of you" or some form of that sentence. But it was in front of the urine testers when we got emotional. I didn't think I'd get that emotional, maybe because I just got off the stage and I didn't want to get too emotional in front of everyone, but just being back there with my dad, mostly alone, um, that was a big moment for the both of us.
No,
But
I'm sure. I could imagine that that moment will just stay. That moment will stay in his head. And the fact that he did it with urinals or did what? Sorry, not urinals. Why it was a urine test, and that's the environment that
yeah,
this emotional moment that will remain in your heads. Being at the end of a first chapter.
yeah,
But
for
look, I
sure.
mean
That's a good
that.
way to put it.
Yeah, there's many more chapters, and I guess you can always laugh back at when you look back at it. Well, look, Farid, just want to say once again, look, huge congratulations. It's phenomenal work, and for what you've achieved. I can't wait to see what you do next. Hopefully we do see you at the Toronto show next year. If it's not in Toronto, it might be a different one. But either way, I know all roads could lead to the Ben Pro show, and
Very much
that's
so.
super exciting to see what happens next, given the fact you're only 20 years old.
Yeah, only getting started. I'm expecting to do a lot in these next few years. I can't wait to see it.
Amazing. Thank you, Farid.